Today I'm going to speak with you about sun and skin damage. We've got Larry Lockhart with us, who is the owner of Bion Skin Search and Skin Research and Skincare. Um, Larry is actually a pharmacist, so he formulates a lot of the products. We're really here today to share with you because of the simple fact here we are, spring is in the air, summer is upon us, and we want to make sure that your clients and yourself, you're protected. Larry says good morning to everyone. So what we want you to know is that Larry's in the chat room. We have a live chat room where you can go in, you can speak with us, you can ask us questions. It makes everything a lot more interactive. It's almost like having me in front of you, Larry in front of you, and you're able to ask us questions and we're able to conduct a class. So in this webinar, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. I am so excited because I love talking about sun and skin damage. I know that sounds a little strange, but I do. Again, my name is Cheryl Matthews. I am the Director of Education for Bion Research and Skincare. I, like many of you, am a licensed esthetician. I am also a master reflexologist and I am a master educator. I teach makeup, I teach skincare, and I teach reflexology. I am a master reflexologist. I have traveled around the world with these items, and I've learned a lot, gathered a lot of information, and a lot of what happens as you start to develop and grow in this industry is you start to pull together all of the knowledge and information that you have. You start to learn a lot more about ingredients, which is one of my things. You start to learn more about herbs and the way things work and the way things combine together affect the body. And if you really care about your clients, you really start to want to empower them to be able to be at their optimum health. We have an agenda this morning. The agenda is what is photoaging or sun damage. There's a bit of history on sun protection, the most current research and rulings here in the United States. And I say that because we have many of you that join us from many parts of the world, and we thank you for that. Your rules and your regulations are a lot different. We pull in a lot of the research from all around the world in order to present to our clients and to our classes and to educate on. So we welcome you and your feedback. We have sun protection alternatives, and then we have the take on Bion sun and skin damage protection. So as I say, class is now in session. Photo-aged or sun-damaged skin. The physical appearance and skin conditions. If you think back or if you think about skin that has been compromised, it has that leathery and that deeply wrinkled texture. There's pigmentation, there's hypo and hyperpigmentation, which means you'll see some of the light pigmentation and you'll see some of the darker pigmentation. Telangiectasias, whoo, I always have a problem with that one, are those spider veins that you'll see. Sometimes you'll see them on the face, sometimes you'll see them on the arms or on the legs. They can happen anywhere in the body, but that is also a sign a lot of times of sun damage. You have that atrophy, that loose sagging skin where the skin no longer has the tone that it once had. The lack of nutritional and oxygen supply starts to affect the tone and the look of the skin. And then you have the reduced cell function and reparative skin processes. All those things are reduced. And that really starts to affect the way the skin not only appears, but the way that the skin functions. I love this poster. I grew up, I am here in Southern California. I am a California girl. I grew up with a pool in my neighborhood, and that made me not only a very popular girl, but it put me out there with my girlfriends that were of all different nationalities. I was the only African American, just so you can get the gist of this. And on a summer day, this meant so much to me because it says, remember when on a hot summer's day, you laid out in your backyard next to your boombox with baby oiled legs and lemon or sun in your hair. Now, for those of you who can't see me, I'm an African American woman. I used to do those things. We would oil ourselves down and we'd have our competition to see who was going to be darkest or who'd have the best tan by the end of summer. if you can imagine. So you can imagine the amount of sun damage that I myself have experienced. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm really, really an advocate for making sure that information and knowledge about sun protection is readily available. But that is, I have that on my, actually on my screensaver, because that was me. And 30 years later, this is what you'll get if you don't take care and do some sun damage prevention. This is the skin. Some of you may have seen this poster or this photo in my oh my gosh, is that a wrinkle webinar, but it just was so appropriate, because this is what that appearance, that leathery, that deeply wrinkled, that compromised skin, it can no longer protect itself. It's lost its tone, it's sagging, it's loose. So, and you can see the little boy's face there. He's just like blah. And that is really, really, really what you feel like if we were to have that skin. I can't imagine that she's very proud of that. A little bit of history on sun protective factors. In 1946, Franz Greitner, or Greiter, a Swiss chemist, is thought to have developed the first effective modern sunscreen, and in 1974 he standardized the sun protection factor, or the SPF, as a worldwide standard, as a measurement for the effectiveness of sunscreen. Then in 1978, the FDA here in the United States adopted the SPF calculation as a measurement of sunburn protection of UV rays. Then in June of 2011, the FDA, again here in the United States, issued a broad new set of statutes pertaining to the labeling guidelines for sunscreen. And this was very, very important, especially for us, because a lot of our rules and regulations were very, very dated. These statutes actually took effect in 2012. What SPF means to you, and if you can see there, for those of you who can't see, I have a picture of a young woman with a bikini bottom on, and she is red, 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 except where the bikini protected her skin, and it shows the difference. And if you even look up towards the edges of her arms, you can see as she laid out, and then on the inside of her arms where the sun didn't reach. Very, very, very important that we start to realize and recognize that this is not the look that we want. The SPF stands for the sun protection factor, as we just spoke of. It is the ratio of ultraviolet or UV radiation dose required to produce that recognized redness that we're looking at in this photo on skin that has been protected with a sunscreen from the UV radiation dose required to produce the same redness on unprotected skin. And that's a clinical test procedure that is done on human skin. Our SPF factors tells you how much longer it'll take for your skin to begin to redden or to burn, and with that product on your skin if your skin was unprotected. What they do is they multiply the SPF factor by the length of time that it takes for a person to suffer a sunburn or a burn without a sunscreen. And I think that's like really scientific, right? We already have proof. This young lady's proof of that. What is UVA, UVB, and UVC? My C kind of got covered up there. The sun is a major source of ultraviolet radiation, or UV, which is a form of energy, that heat or light that travels through space. We know it as heat and light. We don't know it as just energy. We know that it causes sunburn. We know that it causes skin damage and skin cancer. And that skin cancer can be non-melanoma, which means that there's a lesion or there's something there, but it's not cancerous. And then you can have a melanoma, which is cancerous. It's a cancerous condition. The ultraviolet radiation, or UVR, is composed of 3 wavelengths, and I put these here so that you can kind of get a bead on what really happens with your ratings. Your UVA is a UVA1, which measures 340 to 400 nanometers, or billionths of a meter. Your UVA2 extends even further. It goes from 320 to 340 nanometers, but these are the rays that reach the dermis of the skin, if that makes sense. So those rays that you see, I have my window open, and you can see that there's a little bit of shine. I can see it and feel it on my face. Those are the rays that can reach the dermis of the skin. The UVB rays, which are 290 to 320 nanometers, reaches the epidermis of the skin. So that actually goes down deeper into the layer of the skin. The UVC rays, which are the shorter rays, they do not reach the earth. They're actually supposedly absorbed into the ozone layer. So that gives you a little bit of background on what those things mean. We have a new one that I wanted to bring to your attention, and that is your UPF factor. And that UPF factor is a term that I think you should know because that stands for ultraviolet protection factor. It is the ratio and the average effective ultraviolet radiation, that UVR, transmitted and calculated through the air, which is in our energy, in our light, and in our heat, to the average effective UVR irradiance transmitted and calculated through fabric. And what that means is the UPS values are used in a fabric's UV transmittance test. They now are making fabrics, and as you can see, a lot of times I'll wear the longer sleeves made of fabric, not this one, but fabrics that are made to protect from that UVB and UVA light. So now you'll see a lot more clothing, you see hats, you see all kinds of arm sleeves. There's all kinds of things available that you can wear, athletic wear, to start to protect. So that's another term that you and your clients will see. We have those rulings, and I say that those were the must-have testings. They were scientific. These are the rulings that were brought about in the USA. That is that broad-spectrum sunscreen products must protect against both that UVA and that UVB radiation. The maximum SPF allowed on labels is now 50. You can no longer say, oh, it protects 100, SPF 120. It has a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 50. Now, those water resistance claims on the front label, they have to be there to indicate how long that sunscreen remains effective and whether or not that's when you're swimming, you're sweating, and those are the basis of that test. They want to make sure that if you're swimming or you're sweating, that that water resistance holds, that resistance and that protection holds. We also have that these are some things that the FDA says you cannot, the FDA says that you cannot do. You cannot label a sunscreen a sun block. There is no sun block, anything that can block all of the rays, all of the things that we're talking about, those UVA, UVB, and UVCs. Instant protection, there's no such thing because of the simple fact that a lot of times you'll see someone will put on sunscreen and they'll just dab it on just like they do a little makeup, just here and there. So there's no instant protection. There's nothing that you can just put on and instantly is going to protect you other than a piece of clothing. And that protection cannot last for more than 2 hours. That's very important because sunscreen or sun creams need to be added or replaced every 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what the SPF factors are. Statements or products being waterproof or sweat proof, that is no longer allowed. You cannot say that an item is waterproof. Water resistant is the term that is now being used, and again, it has to be on that front label. Sunscreens must include standardized drug facts info. So on the back of that sunscreen, in fact, I have one here. This is one of ours. But on the back of the sunscreen, and I don't know if you can see, but on the back of the sunscreen, there are drug facts that you have to supply so that someone can figure out whether or not they have an interaction, whether they have an allergy, and exactly what it is that they're applying to their skin. There are no longer any powder sunscreens. They're looking also at some of the other sunscreens, the spray-ons. They're looking at those and investigating those because of the inhalation of the vapor and what that cause and what that effect can be. This was important to me. This was a new Yale University study. I try to keep up on all these things, and I was actually speaking with Ryan here at the office about this one. I was very excited. It says that sunbathers can experience cancer-causing DNA damage up to 3 hours after they've left the beach or a tanning bed. Also, this delayed response takes place in the cells containing the skin pigment melanin, which is usually thought to block harmful ultraviolet radiation in the skin. In these cells, UV radiation sets in motion a chemical chain reaction that causes DNA damage in these cells. This was just discovered and just put out February of this year. And I thought it was very, very important. I attend these meetings that are here in Los Angeles, part of a cancer journal study done at one of the hospitals, and they happen on Mondays. And in these meetings, I have doctors and researchers that are constantly going through, and they're looking and they're breaking down the genomes and going through all the cell structures and all of these things. We had a meeting, they were talking about the disparities within the communities of color. And one of the doctors stood up, and in his presentation, he was himself of Indian descent. And he was saying that, oh, you know, when we go into the neighborhoods of African Americans or Hispanics, we don't really see too much skin cancer. And boy, I think I probably set off fireworks. I waited until he finished, and I stood up and I just gave a bit of a speech, I would say, about the disparities, that misinformation. And that's what we really want to be careful of, giving misinformation to our clients and to the public at large. And once I finished, the chief doctor stood up and he says, you know, you are absolutely right, and we need to reevaluate how we go about our research and how we go about pulling our information. And it was information in this study that I was able to direct them to. So it's very important that we look at things like that, because even when I was in school, I was taught that the melanin in my skin protected me. And you can see here, not only does it not protect you, it doesn't block those UV rays, but up to 3 hours after I've been laying out with my girlfriends, or if you've gone to a tanning bed, up to 3 hours, it's almost like putting, I don't know, if you cook, putting a chicken in the oven or a ham or something in the oven, and when you bring it out, they say you let it rest, or you bring it out right before it's totally cooked. But if you do that, it continues to cook until it cools. Think about that when you think about how your skin reacts and how that DNA damage, up to 3 hours, it's almost like your body is still, with the heat that it has garnered, it is still continuing that damage process. What estheticians can do. What can they do? Because when you hear all of this information and you start to look around, you go, oh my goodness, what in the world can I do? Be your client's best resource. That's the thing that you can do. You need to know the facts versus the fiction. It goes again to the information that I was able to share with the physicians. No, that's not fact. That is fiction. You do a thorough skin evaluation when your clients come in and you're looking at their skin. You make notes, and if it's a client that you have on a continual basis, you start to make notes and try to take note of different characteristics in the tone and texture of their skin. I learned to do this with reflexology. We had to go through, and 300 people we had to go through and record for 4 times each. So over a series of months, you had to look at the tone and the texture and any changes within the feet. I use that same model when I'm working on a person with their skin or anywhere else. And in doing that, in giving that thorough skin evaluation and starting to get that in your head, if you're speaking with someone or I'm doing a service and I see an odd mole or an odd spot, even on their back if I'm doing a back treatment or a back massage, or on their foot, or I had one gentleman that I had continually doing reflexology on, and I noticed that he had a strange or an odd lump on the front of his leg. And he thought maybe he had hit it, and he was from overseas. He came back to me the next month and told me that when he got back, he had it checked, and it was in fact cancer in his leg. So these are the things that after a while you start to be able to give that information and to make a difference. You need to be prepared to make a referral. If you find something, you see something, or you experience something, even yourself, you need to be able to go and check with a physician or make sure that your clients will do do so. You let them know that something is looking a little strange or a little odd from the last visit. Or if they come to you with a question, because a lot of times you are that line of defense between them and their physicians. So if they come to you with a concern about maybe a mole or something else, these are the things that in the times that you say, you know what, I think it looks a little odd also. So I'm going to suggest that you do see a doctor about that. You need to have the best products available. It goes back to understanding and utilize the information from the FDA, knowing your ingredients, and knowing what it is your clients are after. For me, as an African American woman or a woman of color, and you can see the sun is starting to come out. It was shady here today. As an African American woman, you don't want that white texture or that white look on your skin. But I wear sunscreen every single day. I work here at my computer a lot, and as you can see, the sun is beaming through. I left it open for a reason. But with that, those rays are coming in, so I want protection when I'm indoors. You want to have tips and alternatives available. You want to be able to give them a little more education and information. And I put a bonus here because Krista McCowan is our director of online education or media education. And what she did was an article that was picked up by Dermascope March of this year, and I did put a link to it, and if you need that and we're going too quickly, you can touch base with me and I can give that to you. But it was in Dermascope, and it was shedding light on new sun protection ideas. It's a very, very good article, and you can use it and reference it, and it'll give you a lot of background information that we don't have time to go through here. Sun damage has many faces, and the reason, for those of you who are not looking at this, you're listening in, I have pictures here of people of all different ethnicities. They are African American. There is a young lady, she is of Persian descent. There is a Hispanic woman. There is a woman here that is of Irish descent. There is a baby that is here. You can see on his little face that he is just blistered and peeling from being out in the sun. And then I have a picture here of feet, because a lot of times when we put on sunscreen, we don't think about our hands, our feet, our arms. These are things that need to be taken into consideration. And sun damage has many faces. You see the melasma. A lot of times when you look in the African American, the Hispanic, the Asian, or the Indian cultures, you'll see that discoloration on the cheeks, on the forehead, sometimes even along the lip and on the chin. You'll see that discoloration from that sunshine. You'll see a lot of times people will have the melasma or the discoloration on one side of their face. The left side, a lot of times if you're driving here in the States, maybe on the right side if you're driving overseas or in the countries where you drive on the right-hand side of the road. But you'll see that discoloration in that one spot where that visor doesn't quite reach and that sun just continues to batter that cheek area. You have to start to recognize that sun damage, it doesn't know that it's not supposed to damage you or you or you. It actually damages us all. Also, you want to start to look for the signs. I have a gentleman here that if you're looking at the photo, you can see that he has that darkness across his forehead from the sun on his forehead and on his cheeks. God bless him. You see a young lady here with those cute little freckles that we see sometimes with children when they've been playing outside. That is the beginning of sun damage. There's a gentleman here in this picture that also he's been out in the sun to the point where it has blistered and started to peel. You'll see here in the far right-hand corner, there's a woman that has the darkness, but also it has the lightness. So she has the hyper and the hypopigmentation. Right below is a woman of Filipino, and you can see all of that melasma all across her cheek area and right up above her lip. And again, a picture here with the discoloration right across the forehead. So it would even, if you were to turn to the side and I could show you, you would even see on the ears, because a lot of times the ears are exposed. One of the questions that you might ask is it a melanoma? How do I know? They do have tests. We call it the ABCD test. And what you're looking for is the asymmetry. You want to know whether or not one half of that mole or that lesion is different from the other side. So from the left to the right, is it no longer symmetrical? The border of it, is it an uneven or an irregular edge along the border? Also, you want to look at the color. A lot of times when there is a mole, a lot of times those moles will change color, and the diameter of them. Do they grow? Have they changed size? Are you seeing symptoms in them that is growing, is changing in color, is bleeding, is itching, is scaling? Whether or not in their family history there are moles. For those of us, I know in my family, we have, especially down south, a lot of our family members have moles, and we just thought, oh, that's just a familial thing. No, if you have a lot of moles on your face, a lot of times that is from sun damage. And as you start to get older, you'll sometimes notice that all of a sudden you'll have a few moles on your shoulders, or you'll have a mole on your face that you never had. These are things to start to look at. Whether or not there's a history of melanoma in your family. These are all things that you want to take a look at and you want to think about. And if 2 of those A, B, C, or D items are positive out of the 5 signs and symptoms, you probably want to make that referral and also check and see whether or not that doctor wants a biopsy. I myself have a mole on my hand. I don't know if any of you can see it. It's been there since birth, but whenever I go to a doctor, the first thing they want to know is whether or not I've had it checked. Has it changed size? Has it changed color? Does it ever bleed? They ask me all of these questions every single time, which I'm appreciative of. And these are things that you and your clients should be aware of. Sun-safe supplements or products should protect from UVB and UVA-induced skin damage. They should provide anti-photoaging properties and build collagen. They should mop up those free radicals and oxygen-reactive species. They ought to inhibit the oxidative stress and protect the immune system. They should provide longevity to those skin cells. Our skin cells should be able to live as long as they need to protect us and to do their job. It should preserve our Langerhans, or our antigen-presenting immune cells. Those are the cells that help to protect your immune system. They should provide protection at the molecular level, and they should be photostable. And these are things that, as you start to experience more and more within the industry, as you start to gather more information and knowledge, you really start to understand just how important all of those things are in your supplements and in your products. I wanted to give you a little information about natural and plant-based protection, because a lot of times people don't think about those things, of what they eat and how those things affect their body. So a healthy diet is going to give you a lot of these antioxidant rich foods and these supplements that help your body to protect itself. That would be, and it sounds odd, but they're saying and finding studies saying that caffeine with the green tea, the dark chocolate, and the coffee, that bit of caffeine helps to raise your antioxidant level, which I'm really glad, because I like all 3 of those things. Healthy saturated fats would be your nuts, the oils, all of the good oils, the good healthy fats, the fats that are in fish, green leafy vegetables. And these are things that should be part of our everyday diet, but you don't think about how that nourishment helps to protect this organ we call the skin. Omega-3 rich foods like the salmon, which I absolutely love. I could eat it every day. You have your avocados, the tomatoes with the lycopene. You've got your nuts, your fruits, just different things to help to boost even further your natural immune system and the SPF factors, protective factors for your skin. More antioxidant rich goodies that I love this time of year, because you start to see all of the fruits and the vegetables, but the watermelon, the blueberries, the raspberries, blackberries, mulberries, the berries in general are really, really high in antioxidants. There's one here, resveratrol. I put this in here because you want to know what it is and what it does. It's a natural phenol, or a phytoalexin, produced naturally by several plants in response to injury or when the plant is under attack. by pathogens such as bacteria or fungi. What they have found is that the skin of red or purple grapes is a high food source of this item, and this item is found to be especially high in the skin of the grapes, and so as in wine. So for those of you who like wines, I think this is a good point. But for those of you that are looking to incorporate more fruits and vegetables, those dark grapes with that resveratrol, that is one of the highest antioxidants that you can find. And it is amazing that these things are readily available to us in our food sources. We're going to talk a little bit about physical sun protection, and what that means is that sun protection would reflect or scatter that UV light. Instead of it penetrating the skin, it actually, as you can see in the little picture here, that ray actually bounces off of the skin, and it's most of the time a physical sun protection is made up of inorganic metal oxides or small particles, and what we like to look at is the titanium dioxide or the zinc oxide as a protective measure, and that would be a physical sunscreen. That means it's something that you can put on top of your skin, which would reflect or scatter that UV light. I put in here also window film or a window tint, and why I put that and why I left the window open is because it has been found in studies that the window tint or a window film would protect or block 50 to 60% of the rays that do damage to the skin. There was a study done, and I believe that it was done in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, that was done. And what they found is that for people that worked like in an office or in an environment where there was a window on one side and they faced that window, that window affected one side of their face, they found that there was actually asymmetrical sun damage or skin damage. That side of the face that was exposed to all of that sun and all of that wonderful light, that side of the face showed more aging. That side of the face sagged. That side of the face was totally affected and different than the other side. So that's why I put physical sun protection, I put that window film in that category. And that's like tinting your windows in your car or having a film. I know a lot of times, depending on where you live, it may be prohibited, but that's a really, really, really good way to help protect your skin. Chemical sun protection. There's a list of items that are not approved by the FDA any longer. I don't want to go through because there's an awful lot of them. A lot of times what you'll want to do, arsol is a big one, the Tinosorb S. A lot of these are no longer even put in products, but a lot of times you might get a product or have a product that is old. You want to make sure you check your labels and make sure that the ingredients that you may be looking at are still approved by the FDA. Also, there is an extra long list of items that are approved by the FDA, and these are items that are also proven to be effective in the chemical sun protection. What you do want to be mindful of is that some of those ingredients will block those harmful rays and some of them won't. So different ingredients do different things, and those are things that you definitely want to be mindful of when you're using a chemical sun protection product. Bion's Optimal Photo Damage Sun Protection. We have a titanium dioxide sun cream, and that sun cream has an SPF of 35. That gives you that broad spectrum UVA and UVB protection. It is micronized, not nanotechnology, no nanotechnology used in the particles. So they're micronized so that they do rest right on the top of the skin. They do not penetrate into the lower layers. There's no white or visible residue on the skin and has a almond vanilla scent. The ingredients are your titanium dioxide, again, that is micronized. You have your zinc oxide, which also is micronized. You have your shea butter. You have your aloe, and you have your vitamin E. When you look at your ingredients, you really want to be able to go through and see what it is that's active, not only to help with the photo damage or protecting against those rays, but you also want to see what else is in that ingredient that helps to moisturize and protect that skin. You want something that's going to protect those lipids from being affected, and you want to protect those cells. Bion believes also in skin rejuvenation, and our take on skin rejuvenation is that it deals with the changes at the cellular level of the skin where progressive malfunction takes place. It goes back to what we were saying about making sure that you're protecting the lower levels of the skin. With regard to skin rejuvenation, we realize that there is a single or wonder ingredient or simple solutions. It takes time to rejuvenate skin that has been damaged. It takes time to rejuvenate and replenish skin that has been compromised, and to get the skin so that that organ starts to function in the way that it was intended. Bion sun damage repair products are created to improve the angiogenesis or the vascular integrity of the skin. They are developed to improve the ability to function as an organ so that the whole skin starts to function better, and you get the improved external appearance. So I don't know what we could do for that lady in the beginning with all those wrinkles, all that leathery damage, but there are items that she could start to use that would start to replenish and rebuild the structure of her skin. We have items in that realm that are our Nutrient Essentials Mask, which is, you know, a lot of these ingredients that are in our foods are in our products that help to regenerate that skin. We have our Youthful Eyes Peptide Cream, which is amazing for around the eyes, and the peptides are so high that you really start to see the change. Vitamin A, an antioxidant complex. We have our Collagen Revival Serum. We've got our BioReplenish ACE Sun Damage Repair Cream, which is almost an essential if you're going to do any kind of sun damage repair. On top of that, vitamin A and that collagen. You want that Collagen Revival Serum to help to restructure and rebuild our collagen. It does not have collagen in it, but it helps to rebuild that collagen level. And then we have our BioEssence Nighttime Calcium Complex, and calcium is a wonderful item. Those of you that are familiar with the line know how important calcium is to the skin and to the structure of the skin. I like to also let you know what Bion does not put in its products, and Bion does not put they don't do any animal testing, they don't do any harmful preservatives. They try to keep the items as pure as possible unless there's an item in there that is stabilizing that product, and that's required. No artificial fragrances. We like essential oils and extracts. As far as our packaging and our shipping supplies, we don't do a lot of fluff and extra stuff that would prove to be non-beneficial to our environment. No petrochemicals or mineral oils, no sulfates, no hydroquinone, which is a very big one, especially in the skin lightening industry. No parabens, no nanotechnologies. That goes to that microtechnology, that micronized titanium dioxide that is used in our sunscreen product. And for those of you who are interested in our acne products, it's really important to know that we have no benzoyl peroxide in our products. And that is because of the damage that it does to the skin, which has been scientifically proven. Good information to share with your clients is that everyone is susceptible to sun damage. Doesn't matter about the melanin in their skin. It doesn't matter any of those other items. Everyone is susceptible. Tint or film on the windows, home, the office, and the car. Something that you can add and give them as information for more protection. You want them to know that they need to use an SPF minimum 15 every day. Every day. Doesn't matter whether it's raining, whether the sun is shining, if you're in winter, if you're in spring, if you're in summer. Every single day. They need to do a self-exam, or you need to do a self-exam, and your client needs reminders. they need to know that they need to do a self-exam also, especially once a month when they're doing some of their other examinations, their breast examinations, or just a reminder in their phone that they just want to take a look and make sure that they're not having any different lesions, or that those moles that they may have may not be changing size, shape. A lot of times we get so busy, we don't think about checking and making sure that we ourselves are healthy. And you want to make the appropriate physician referrals. So many times we think we can fix things, and there are things within our scope that we simply are not equipped to fix. What I want to do right now is to stop for a moment and give you a little poll, and those are some questions that that I put together. And what I really want to do is to open up those polls and to ask you a couple questions. And it is, how many of you use sun protection every day? How many of you recognize the signs of sun damage? And how many offer sun protection to your clients? Oh my goodness, look at all of you. All right. I love that. That's the first time we are at 100%. That's all right. Go team. That is amazing. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So that means that you're empowering your clients, that you're sharing that information, and that you're making sure that they are protected, and that makes your job easier, to tell you the truth. At this time, I want to know if there's any questions that are being asked. I see some flying fingers there in the chat room, so we'll give a couple minutes for those to come up. A lot of the information and everything that is, okay, Vicki, how does Bion suggest to use the sunscreen during facials? Okay, during facials, Vicki, what you want to do is to make sure that after you've done all of your cleanse, your moisturizing, all of your service items, right before you get done, when you get done with all of the facial, the cleansers, your toner, your mask, any of the procedures like that, the last thing that you're going to put on and offer that client is a sunscreen. You do not want them going out unprotected once you've done all your beautiful work. You don't want them going out and leaving themselves unprotected. So definitely the last thing. For myself, once I get up and I'm up and about, I wash my face, I go through my routine, and the last thing that I put on my skin is my sunscreen. And then after that, I'll put on any makeup that I want to put on, any powders or anything, right over the top. All right, that answered that question. Anybody else have a question? When did the powder SPFs become non-approved? Shireen, that was actually, I believe, in that 2011 was when the FDA went through and did a lot of different protocols. They didn't become effective until 2012. So if you go on and take a look at the FDA website, they can give you specifics exactly as to when exactly each and every item was non-approved. But as far as I know, in the list that I was in, that powder SPF was non-approved in 2012. So mineral makeup can no longer further protect the skin. Actually, no, that's not true. It does provide some protection, but the problem is this. Most of the time, a person, even if they're putting on mineral makeup, they'll take their brush and they'll swab a little up here, anywhere where they think they want their skin to look good. They're not thinking about the fact that that mineral also can add a level of protection. But the SPF in a mineral makeup, number one, it has to say on there what it is, because you can no longer really say that a makeup is going to provide protection, because people do not put it all over their face. It provides a minimal amount of protection, but not a full protection as an SPF that is applied properly to the skin. because how many times do they take that brush and put it on their ears or put it on their neck and shoulders? Generally, it's a spot treat, just like when, you know, they put on makeup. So that was one of the reasons why I don't think mineral makeup is a protective barrier to fully protect the skin. Larry says physical sunscreens like the titanium and zinc oxide are far superior to chemical sunscreens for skin protection. You're absolutely right, and if I didn't make that point, I am a big advocate for physical sunscreens, and that is why the titanium dioxide cream that we offer is so superior to a chemical. Number one, the improbability that there'll be any kind of irritation or any kind of allergy promoted, because you're not using things that the skin could be potentially allergic to. And also the simple fact that it rests right on top of the skin, which is where you want that barrier. You want that protection right on top, so that that sun ray, like that's coming through my window right now with the sunscreen on that I have on, is actually those rays are bouncing off of my skin. They're not being absorbed. And I actually put sunscreen on my hand. I put sunscreen on my arms. I have sunscreen in my car so that when I'm driving, I slather it on that arm and hand if it's exposed. I put it on my other hand, because when you're driving in the 10 and 2 or whatever position you drive in, when you're driving, those your hands are further exposed. Let's see what else we have here. Please go over client at home use. I'm not sure what that means as far as client at home use. For a client at home, you want to make sure that your clients, after they do their cleanse and all of the steps of the treatment protocol that you've given them, the last thing you want them to do always, except in the evening when they're going to bed, is to put on sunscreen. So you want to make sure that that is part of their home care protocol, that no matter what items and things that retail that you give them, that you are giving them the sunscreen. You want them to have sunscreen. Let's see, works great. What I recommend for my clients does not cause breakouts. Terrific. Yep. You want to make sure, and Nicole was saying that she uses, I believe, our titanium dioxide cream, and that it does not cause breakouts. And that is very, very important. That goes again to that skin being able to accept something that is as inert as the zinc and the titanium. It, like I said, doesn't generally cause a breakout. Usually if a person has a breakout to it, there's something else within the cream that they're having a reaction to. But generally you don't get a breakout or you don't get a reaction with the titanium dioxide or the zinc oxide. Those are very, very important things to know for your clients, especially for the appearance. And again, for people with a little more melanin in their skin, they want to use a product that white residue look is not resting on top of their skin. But a lot of times I tell people, you know what, get over it. Just put on your makeup and go about your way, but don't go out unprotected. And we want to make sure that we protect our children. One of the things that we're starting to notice is skin cancer younger and younger and younger. And with that, a lot of times I live here and I go down to the beach. My sister and I were just speaking on this, that she was running out by the beach in her area in San Diego, and she saw a baby. They had a little hat and they had little glasses on her, but they had her legs out and her feet out, and they were just turning red because nobody had thought about protecting. They wanted to make sure she was warm and that she was getting a little sun. You know, that's just, you know, part and parcel of why we do these education processes. Nicole, it was good to have you on. Thanks again for joining in, and I'll go ahead and throw your name in the hat because you were with us for the whole time. Any other questions for me? And I had forgotten to do that. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to go ahead and quickly put some names in the hat. And what you want to do, you want to make sure that with all of your information that you're giving your clients, one of the easiest things for them to remember to do when they go out is put on their titanium dioxide cream. If they've gotten damage and you're working with a client with damage, there are so many products within our line that help to rejuvenate skin. And one of the ones that I forgot to mention in the slides is our naturally soft body lotion. Very hydrating, very nourishing to the skin. One of the easiest things that I think there is to do, and Shireen's asking, what do you recommend for skin lighteners? Oh, Shireen, there are products that are being developed right now. Hopefully we'll come up with ours. We're working on it that would have more in the line of the kojic acids, the arbutin, mulberry, the Mandelex, your enzymes. There are different ways. It takes more time, but it's a lot safer for the skin, and there are protocols for that. And that's what I recommend. I get spots. I have issues with, pigmentation on my skin, and I really, really, really stay away from the hydroquinone because it is very, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous to the skin, very dangerous to that organ and the other organs of your body. And if you take a look online at some of the research that's being done on that hydroquinone, very, very scary, especially now, because a lot of times what is happening is coming in from other countries and other cultures. They are finding that the percentages of the hydroquinone are getting so very high that it's just very, very unsafe. One of the best things I do, I go out and I walk in the mornings, and what I do when I walk is I make sure that I have on my hat. So I make sure I have that on, I put that on. Another thing that I make sure I do, I cover my eyes. I make sure that my eyes are covered. Those two things right there, along with my sunscreen, gives me an added protection. When I'm going out and I'm going to be out for a long time and I need more protection, the hat that I will use and wear is a very broad brim hat. Very broad brim. But that protects not only my shoulders, it protects my back. A lot of times we're out and the back of your neck, or if you've got a blouse that's down a little bit, those things really, really are affected by the sun. At this time, what I'm going to do, I've got the class out of session, but what I'm going to do, I see a couple names that are still with us. I'm throwing them in this hat. Now let's see who gets our prize package this week. Also, if you got the information in your in your newsletter, you saw that there is a discount for your products. 15% off, if I'm not mistaken, your retail products, your skincare products. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of that at this time. And let's see who we got here. Vicki, you don't get to. 15% off titanium dioxide sun cream. I was absolutely correct. So let's see who gets it this time. I got Nicole. So Nicole, you're going to get the prize pack this week. Woohoo! So if there's any other questions, you guys can just let me know. Go ahead and type them in. Larry and I are here. We thank you so much for your time. We thank you very much for your questions and for your interaction in the chat room. We want to make sun protection a lifestyle, not something that people don't think about or it's an afterthought. And I just want to thank you for your time. Continue to do such a great job and to be educated, because the more you know, the more you're able to grow. All right? Thanks a lot. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to type any other questions. And I want to make sure that you check out our website for upcoming shows. I want you to know that Krista has that article in Dermascope, shedding light on new sun protection ideas. Take a look at it online. It is available. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. My glasses are so dark. Our board, and also our blog. So we want to thank you for joining us. Take care. Make sure you do protect yourself against sun and skin damage. And until we see you next time, thanks a lot and have a great day.